lot of people use this day to clear out old crap in their karma. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but anyway.
Famous movie, Sense Eight, on which I recommend highly. Sense Eight
Was it Netflix?
on Netflix. Yeah,
Yeah.
called Sense Eight. It was there last year. It was 3 seasons. I saw all 3 seasons.
Yeah, and it was about people that were all born on the same day and had a
Oh no, their minds were all connected.
Netflix.
On
Oh,
Netflix, yeah.
yeah.
It was a group of 8 people who were always there for each other because their minds were connected. And
Yeah.
of course, the normal Homo sapiens wants to get rid of them. Yeah, there was 3 seasons. It was really wonderful.
But yeah, they were all born on the same day.
That I don't know.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. The very first show was when out of nowhere, people who were not expecting babies before suddenly were having babies, and they all just born on the same day, and then it turns out that it's something. So anyway, turning this mic over to you guys for Thankful Thursday.
Hey, good morning. I'll start with Ken Wapnick's Journey Through the Workbook with What is Forgiveness. So we're on lesson 221 now, the start of the second half of the workbook, which are all these beautiful prayers. And so, what is forgiveness? Ken says, we begin part two with the first in a series of 14 summaries that encapsulate the thought system of A Course in Miracles. Its subject is forgiveness, the Course's single most important theme. Paragraphs 1, 4, and 5 describe what forgiveness is, forgiveness of illusions, and 2 and 3 summarize what it is not, unforgiving thoughts of guilt. And I'd like to just say that these little encapsulations of the what is forgiveness, what is a miracle, what is the body, what is the world, they are like the Course in a nutshell. I love those. At my course meetings, when anyone asks a question about what is this or what does this mean, we inevitably go to something in the workbook, one of these summaries that come before 10 lessons. So paragraph 1, lines 1 to 4, forgiveness recognizes what you thought your brother did to you has not occurred. It does not pardon sins and make them real. It sees there was no sin, and in that view are all your sins forgiven. Well, that looks simple, but when you really take that to its nth degree, which is what I've been meditating very diligently on lately, about there's no past. There's no past. Everything we think has happened never happened. And that is a total mind blower completely, because you can't think any way that you used to think before. So when I think about, oh, yeah, this happened to me and that shaped my view of the world, no. We get to lesson 189, which says, in paragraph 7, which says, let go of everything. Let go of everything you ever thought, everything you ever believed, any concept you ever had, and come with wholly empty hands unto your God. And I've been doing that and catching myself going back. We're used to thinking about the past and thinking about the future. That's just the nature of a human being. It's the nature of the brain. But when we see it never happened, it's like, oh my God, well, if that never happened, then this is also not true. And if that never happened, then this is not true. And even going to the place of people in our lives that we feel were very important to us, if bodies are not real, if at no single instant does the body exist at all, well, and you get to this place where you go, oh, I really am dreaming all of this. Because in our dreams at night, we see bodies pop up and then they're gone. And then one person is Tom, but he's also Mary at the same time. You know how that works in your dreams, where the person is two people, or they're this person, but they're really that other person, because it's all ideas. And so when we get this totally of forgiveness recognizes what you thought your brother did to you has not occurred. Forgiveness recognizes that what you thought you did to yourself, you were born and you entered into this world, and then you're going to die at a certain point. And I can see now that all my spiritual beliefs to this point were helpful. They helped me, like the belief in reincarnation, the belief that my soul would go on and evolve, or the belief that I'm going to see my loved ones when I die, which actually, if you believe those and you want those and you need those, they'll happen. They will happen. I've gotten tons of signs from people who have died. I've talked to them and been very reassured. But when you get to this place of total oneness and you let go of your separate self completely, there's a freak out time. It is a mind blower. It is scary. It's like, whoa, well, what about that? Well, I want to hang on to the good parts of the dream or the good people in the dream and let go of everything else. But the Course says it's truth or illusion. You believe this Course entirely or not at all. And so there is this period, and it's been actually for me for a number of years, in and out, in and out, in and out. I would say for almost, well, since my dad died. I go in and I go out, and then I can't handle it anymore. And I just go right back to my old beliefs that comfort me. And that's okay. You're not losing anything. But what I'm finding as I appear to evolve, we appear to evolve, and we're really not, but is that more drops off, more self, more ego drops away, and then more drops away too. So you said share on the chat, me too, back and forth. Yeah. And then you stabilize at a different vibration or a different level of understanding. And then if I get scared, sometimes I'll just go completely back. And what I've been focusing on, because we do use the specifics that seem to be important in our so-called individual lives, it's coming up on the year anniversary of my former partner Rod's transition. And that's been huge for me because he was this huge, huge, huge symbol in my life. And so I was looking at the section Beyond All Symbols. And also it talks about this, what you think your brother did to you, or even that you think you have a brother, has not occurred, but it's gentle. And so for me, separate me, letting go of that symbol is the hardest. It feels like the hardest thing I could ever possibly do. And it freaks me out. But then as I do it, and as I merge into the oneness with God and oneness with everyone and everything, and say that everything is in my mind, everything is one because it is, it's okay. But I find myself wanting to go backward and grasp onto the stories and the form. But if at no single instant does the body exist at all, that never happened. It never happened. It was all a dream in my mind. And I see him as a very positive part of my life. He's almost an easier symbol than Jesus for me because he was personally connected to me. And so moving beyond the symbols to, you know what, you're it. You're it. Tag, you're it. It's all in your mind, and it's your choice to wake up to truth or not. And that one question of, do you want to know what you have denied because it is the truth? That's that last unanswered question, which is, it can be very scary to the ego. And so again, like I say, I've been in and out for over a decade, but it's even more diligent and persistent right now because it's like, you come to a place where you just can't go back. You can't, and I think I'm at that place, and it's not comfortable, but it's also the most freeing thing possible to let go of everything. So I'm going to turn this over to you, Sharon.
You know, when we start to realize that nothing happened, it's one thing to read it, it's another thing to experience it. And, you know, in this lesson, 221, he says, peace to my mind, let all thoughts be still. So a couple of years ago, I was with a teacher, Helen Hamilton, and she did this thing called silent sitting. And I wasn't able to, it was a retreat, and we would just go into silence. And my mind was just not, it was not going silent because the ego was still, you know, screaming. Today, I'm in the holy instant and I can feel the vibration of silence. That's what we are. And the silence made all of it, you know, it's just a dream. None of it really happened. Now, as the character is still going to have preferences, you know, and those preferences, whether they go away or not, it doesn't matter to me. But what has gone away is the anger and anxiety about, you know, hoping that I get the day I want rather than just stay in the isness, because this isness is all there is. There's nowhere to go and there's nothing to do. We, as the Son of God, are looking at memories all day long. That's all we're seeing are memories, and the mind goes and shifts back. And it's absolutely a miracle. It's a miracle to have experienced this. I'm grateful. And that, you know, I get what you're saying, Lorri. It does get a little uncomfortable when you decide it, when the decision is made, let it all go, right? I've had ins and outs of that. And, you know, the back and forth, the mind can still get into story, but it gets out as soon as it wants to. There's no holding on anymore. It seems to have gotten, well, it's just this all is well feeling, right? It's just like nothing happened. And anything that happens here just happens. It's a happening. And, you know, as the character, I never thought I'd ever come to a place where I'm at now. You know, the ego, you know, part of Sharon was constantly wanting just relief. Because the ego is really a lot crazier than I ever thought, because what I'm seeing now is how beautiful and lovely life can be when the ego balances out. I still have ego, but it's balanced. There's no type of, you know, if I get into something from in the out picture, immediately, if I feel that it could hurt me or anyone, it stops, because
Or the white tennis shoes.
I've said this all along.
Shoes. They both come from.
Cher, you got to mute yourself, honey. So, I was going to say basically that it's time for silence, and I couldn't do it, you know, and I think it was 2020 that I couldn't, you know.
Oh, I accidentally muted you, Sharon. Unmute yourself.
What happened? I muted myself and didn't realize it.
I did it. It was an
Why?
accident.
Oh, there's Susie. Look at it. She's coming on too. All right. So anyway, you know, the silence made all of it. Hi, honey.
Hi, I can't see anybody though, but I'll get there.
Okay, it's
I
good
see
to see
me.
you back. Okay, I'd love to see you come. So here
You
we
are.
are, like right now, looking at our function. There's only one function here. There's only one thing that matters, and that's the truth. And, you know, I would say, as the Son of God, all of us, we are really blessed. So today I feel blessed and grateful. And as the character has certain preferences, if she doesn't get her way, who cares? Who cares? She's not even there. It's a story that I became addicted to about this character. And I thought that she was kind of fun to play, but I don't know that I ever did anything except watched her play, right? Because I'm not her. I am the mind speaking through her and to her, but I am not her. Her is just a complete paper cut doll that is just, you know, somebody will say, well, isn't Sharon nice or isn't Sharon nasty? Like, that's just the way the ego works. It goes back and forth. And years ago, before I started the path, I remember they would say in, I guess it was Buddhism, action, reaction. And I never, it stuck in my mind because we all know when the truth comes in, it never leaves, because that's the only thing that is true. So action reaction, I don't have that. But what I do have today is so much love, and our silence reflects our unequivocal call and allows us to hear God's answer of unity with him, a oneness joined as one. And that's in text chapter 25. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Dove.
All right. Thank you so much for that, first, Lorri. That was great on the beauty of oneness, which I'll speak a little about. And thank you so much, Sharon, for sharing on the love that we are. Welcome, Susie Love. And I'm so happy to see you here. And I saw you just signed on as a new member at ACIM Gather for Course in Miracles on Facebook. And I was very happy. I said, my God, I thought you were always a member, but I'm so glad to see that you're a member now, and you're joining us here on Zoom. And big welcome to Miss Cher from Dallas. And okay, I put something on the board. I'll put it on again. This is something I sent out to a number of people. I know I sent it to Miss Cher. I don't know if I sent it to anyone else here. Maybe I sent it to you, Sharon. I'm not sure. But I saw this last night on Dakini Wild's Facebook group, which I go there a lot. I'm familiar with Dakini. She's from Australia. And this is by a guy named Reverend Kenneth Pike. And apparently he and there's two other reverends, Reverend Dale something. I'll get you their names. But anyway, I love their motto, which basically seems so true for me. It says, we're not here to teach A Course in Miracles to each other. We are here to love one another. And I realize that that's so true. We get caught up in thinking that other people need to know about A Course in Miracles. No, we're just here to love one and another. Yeah, thanks whoever put that up on the that was Lynn. Thank you for putting it up so everyone can see it. And I went to look at they have a very interesting website. It's called two or more are one.com. And there's that oneness again. And it's the idea that you're only loving yourself. You're not really loving anyone else. What is love? Is to know that you are beloved and loved by your Father, who, if you listen to Lynn, you have no idea how loved you are. And we're talking about things that are insane and crazy. Let me see if I can put it up again in case it came in. It's just called two or more are one.com. It's the number two or more are one.com. I'll try one more time to put it up. Okay. Here it is in case you missed it. I can't put it up. Anyway, that whole idea of oneness, is like I had 40 years of marriage to Suzanne, and it was really a wonderful 40 years. It was like a gift. I was really gifted to be that fortunate. After my first 40 years of pretty much, certainly 32 years of the ego being in charge, and then 4 or 5 years of preparing myself for something called A Course in Miracles. And then we both met each other. We were in the same place. We both took S together, and we had gone to the Graduate Seminar Leaders Program together. And we met at a 4th of July barbecue party in Long Island. And, we got married 3 or 4 years later by the Reverend John Mundy. And I wrote the wedding vows, and the wedding vows go something like this. I have it on my wall. It says, we give our relationship to our Father, to remember that we are all one. We are one. And when she passed a couple of years ago, I remember went into real grieving and grief. And believe it or not, in 3 days, the grief was over because I happened to pass the picture of our wedding and our wedding vows, which I keep right on the bedroom wall, along with the banner that Susie sent to me many years ago called "You Gotta Laugh, You Gotta Laugh." I have it right on my bedroom wall, along with a picture sent to me by Sharon. It was not a picture. She took a photograph of a beautiful Easter lily with my favorite lesson, "I Rest in God," lesson 109. And that became the logo lesson for One Mind Foundation. And almost everything that I do has to do with oneness. My first book is called Into Oneness, Thoughts and Prayers on the Way. Started One Mind Foundation, which now John Mundy and I co-chair, along with Lynn and a few others like Glenn Coburn. So oneness is really what the course is talking about. When it says love one another, who am I loving? We're loving the sonship. Don't lose track of the forest for the trees. Notice I'm in a picture where there's always like a big oak tree behind me, which you can make it your special love if you want, and say, "Oh, I want to hug you, I want to love you." But no, if you hug and love just one, you're missing the forest for the one tree that you're hugging, and you don't realize that the forest is just one small dot in a huge green pasture, which becomes the lawns of heaven. You are on the lawns of heaven, but you just temporarily got caught up in thinking that you're a dot. You are that black dot on the screen that you try to erase. No, as the Reverend, his name is Reverend Kenneth Price, says, no, don't get stuck up in the flypaper. Now, as soon as you hear flypaper, you know that he's a student of Keith Kavanaugh. Don't get stuck in the flypaper. And if you go to his website, he has a beautiful cartoon picture of Pluto and Donald Duck. Now Donald Duck is going along thinking that everything is okay until Pluto comes along, and Pluto is his flypaper. So how do you get rid of the flypaper? You don't take it seriously. You begin to smile at it and you let it go. If you fight it, the flypaper becomes more flypaper. There's more trees. No, just rise above it. Just rise above the forest, and you recognize that you're on the lawns of heaven. And what is heaven but an awareness of perfect oneness? Can you imagine that? An awareness of perfect oneness. And then you get that wonderful lesson, I think it's 188. Why wait for heaven? Those who wait for heaven are merely closing their eyes. Where do you think you are? Because the oneness is real, nothing else is. And with that, I'm turning it back on over to you, Lorri Coburn.
Thanks, Dove. Yes, heaven is an awareness of perfect oneness. A couple of weeks ago, I was looking up all the different definitions of heaven, and I don't have my book right in front of me, but there were a number of them, and it was always here and now. Heaven is here, there is nowhere else. Heaven is now, there is no other time. And welcome back, Susie. I met you at a conference a long time ago. Oh, you remember?
Oh, yeah.
I remember meeting.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a long time
Yeah.
ago. So welcome back.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
Yeah.
Perfect timing, as always.
Yeah. No time, right? No time. You wanna
Right.
say okay, Sharon, you had mentioned the silence, and that's something that I've not been able to do very well. I find even, I mean, my mind is much more quiet than it's ever been. I was never good at meditation, still am not. Um, and I found that just by doing A Course in Miracles, so my mind got more quiet than it used to be. So even 5 more seconds of quiet is really exponential when you think about it. So if you spend an hour a day being your Christ self, that's like exponential compared to all the times that you were, in the ego thought system. And it feels so vast. And then when that keeps increasing and increasing and increasing to where you just feel it and be it more, it's wonderful. And that is the silence. And so I recognize too, and what I was talking about before, that when we start letting go of everything, everything we thought was real, everything that we valued and held on to, we can see our minds go crazy. It's like, oh, well, if I'm sitting in meditation, well, we think of the 100 things we need to do that day. I will stop because I'm like, I'm afraid I'm going to forget that and I'm not going to be able to do it later. And so the mind just wants to distract with everything, and everything in the world, everything, whether it's a physical ache or pain shows up, it's an appointment we have, I'm getting hungry. Everything is a distraction from that silence. And I can see how much that fear of God is really real. And I never really could relate to that before. And now it's like, ew. When I start going into the silence and I'm letting go of all the things that I attached to, it's like, ew, I'm left with this anxiety, like, oh, ew, this doesn't feel good. And I want to run from it. And I can feel that fear. And then I just go, well, breathe and say, okay, I empty, God, I empty, because the old ways of life just don't work anymore. And maybe I think age helps with that. When you get to a certain age and you've been there, done that with everything that you ever thought you wanted, and then you think, oh, now I'm bored and I want something new, and you go, I know that that's not going to make me happy, and I can't even fool myself anymore into thinking that if I do that, if I have that, I will be happy. And Sharon, you also mentioned being addicted to the character. And that is our primary addiction to the separate self, addiction to our thoughts, thinking that what we value or my life, my separate life is meaningful. And so like, even when that other guy said, we're not here to teach A Course in Miracles, we're here to love one another, I would put a caveat on that. Yes, we're here to love one another, but ego can't love. So even whatever the ego says, oh, I'm loving you because I'm doing this for you, I'm being gracious to you, that's nothing compared to the truth of God and the truth of our being. And I was in this one spiritual path one time that said, we're here to wake up. And that makes more sense to me. But then we're not even really here. And there's no one to wake up. So it's all a paradox. Once you get starting to talk about non-duality, everything you say, you have to counter, and it's a paradox. So I'm going to continue reading in Ken's workbook under What is Forgiveness. Since there is no world, and everyone appearing to be in it is but a dream figure, there is no one to do anything. This ultimately means we forgive ourselves for what we have not done. We merely believe we separated from God and destroyed his kingdom. In truth, nothing happened, and so there is nothing to forgive. On the practical level of our daily experience, forgetting for the moment this is an illusion and we are not even here, forgiveness means you have not taken the peace of God from me. My disquiet stems from the thought that you have, or a lot of us, but that I have, by your words or actions. I therefore forgive you for what you have not done because the only one who took God's peace from me is me. And Sharon, you said something about that. You said reading it and getting it intellectually and going, yeah, is one thing. And then actually living it, experiencing it to the nth degree, totally a whole new ball game. And that's where we're at. And I'm grateful. I am extremely grateful because I can't fool myself anymore. I can't fool myself with temporary pleasures. I can't fool myself with even temporary ideas that give me comfort and pleasure, because I know that the only peace is the peace of God. And what is that? It's certainly not anything in form. It's nothing here in form, but it is here. So when Jesus says in the manual number 24, heaven is here, there is nowhere else. Heaven is now, there is no other time. I remember the epiphany I had, which was, oh, wait, here doesn't mean here on earth. Now doesn't mean now in time and space, with a yesterday and a tomorrow. Here and now is outside of time and space. And when you sink into that, you feel it. When the mind gets quiet, silence, you feel it. And I heard this one idea yesterday where Joe Dispenza was talking about teaching meditation to children. And they talk about a pond, seeing the pond in the water, and be the pond. And if you just do that, if you think of yourself being the pond, at least for me, I can feel that immediately. It's like, oh, be the pond, that still pond. And that's cool. So I'm going to turn this over to you, Sharon.
I have a question. Are you saying sun, S-U-N?
Are you talking sun? What do you mean?
You said be the sun.
No, be the pond. Sorry, pond. P-O-N-D.
Oh, be the pond. Okay. All right.
Be the pond. Yeah, water.
Pond is a great way to look at a visual because the pond is still. You throw a stone in a pond and it's still. And I love that, description, Lorri, because it's like our reflection in the water is always showing us the person. However, who we are is the pond, really. We are the pond, and it's beautiful. It's a funny kind of thing when you do A Course in Miracles. You want the peace so badly, yet, you keep falling down. And the thing that I see is that there's an unwinding the mind. It's just unwinding. And with that, we get thrown off through the process, where we get pissed off, where we want our way, and it all is good because all of it is divine in a way, all of it. I mean, when we realize that every seeming human is the divine, we really can just be quiet. And, when I think about the silence, when I'm sitting in the holy instant, I feel so loved and so taken care of. And yet, if I do go outside into the outer world believing it's real, which happens, it's happening less and less, but sometimes it happens. As Dove said, I just laugh at it because it's all a distraction. And that's what Lorri shared. It's all a distraction. The ego knows it's fighting for its life and it never did live. And you make the ego your ally in a way, make it kind of your friend because it is part of this process. Yes, we have a lot of dark thoughts as we go deep, but at the same time, that's what they are, is thought. I mean, I'm literally wanting things my way and I want the thoughts to move this way or that way. Well, they're just thoughts. And the stillness is here right now. So, I found that Ken Wapnick and Keith were significant, Keith Kavanaugh for me, because, they don't tell you, well, listen to the Holy Spirit and try to get guidance and try to do this and try to do that. All of that is wonderful if that's where you're guided. But the truth is, that there's no you to care how you get there, because spirit is guiding us perfectly. And when we are always being taken care of, it's literally the truth. It's not just, just a great quote, it is that way. We are taken care of. The real us, the body is going to die. The body is going to get sick. The body could get any kind of disease. It has nothing to do with whether or not you're progressing on a spiritual path, because it is a script. And I don't know at all when I'm supposed to leave or if I'll get sick or any of that. But who's the I have to bring myself back and say, wait a minute, that's the body. And this is where presence becomes the love of your life. To look at presence and feel that this is the one thing that I wanted all my life, and falling in love with awareness, watching awareness. It's absolutely incredible to watch the mind. We are really the seer. We're not the character ever. And I think the seer has always seen how crazy this is, but also knows it's not real. So I think what's great is like the progression in the course process, because every promise it makes is true. And what I have seen in the course is how brilliant it really is. It's a book that I personally wanted to throw out, wanted to brought up all Sharon's issues with her brain, because I didn't know what it was saying. And the point is, if you think you're a body, you're never going to know what it's saying. That's the whole thing. We are not bodies. We're formless being. We are one self, united with our creator, period. So I can bring up a topic and say, what happens when we die? Well, first off, we don't die. The character, the thought system just falls away. And what happens is nothing, because you're not there to have anything happen. Somebody had said to a friend of mine that heaven is boring, and that's why we made this play. Well, first off, heaven, the vibration in heaven is very different than what's here, even the awakened self, because we're formless. And what I have seen, because I, love wisdom so much, is that when you leave the body, there couldn't be anything that happened because there's no you. So it's another story, another thought system. It's still in concepts. And what is awakening? Escape from concepts. So I want to read this little, that's what I feel like. I'm in grace. The grace of God rests gently on forgiving eyes, and everything they look on speak of him to the beholder. He can see no evil, nothing in the world to fear, and no one who is different from him. Of course, you're in sameness. You're looking at formlessness, and just look at the miracle of what it made. I mean, this is all the highest high God. Years ago, Liz Cronkite told me that she went through a revelation, and she said the energy was very different, but the fear came in so palpable that, I don't know if it happened once or twice for her, but what we're in now is a reflection of where we are. And that's all there is this reflection. But who the heck wants a mind that isn't even you? Anyway, he said he can see no evil, nothing in the world to fear, and no one is different from himself. And as he loves them, so he looks upon himself with love and gentleness. He would no more condemn himself for his mistakes than damn another. He's not an arbiter of vengeance, nor a punisher of sin. The kindness of his sight rests on himself. With all tenderness is offers others. For he would only heal and only bless. And being in accord with what God wills, he has the power to heal and bless all those he looks on with the grace of God upon his sight. So reading this, I mean, I don't know that I read it slowly, but these passages, that's what I want to do as I go through the rest of my life, is just reading just parts of the course, because they're absolutely gorgeous. They just tell you basically what you are is omnipresence. What you are is the light of the world. What you are is what Jesus was. So I just have to say that I'm so grateful for the gift of God. Over to you, Doug.
Okay. I love your sharing, Sharon. Thank you so much. Um, I'm sorry for the interruption. I
I'm
believe
just
it or
gonna
not.
pop in and say, Susie, you're welcome to share anytime as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love that. Yeah. You know, I'm going to say one thing, though. Regis is going to be so happy to see Susie because he plays her a lot. You know, I'm here to only be truly helpful. So that's good too.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
I'm just happy to be here. The timing is right because we are nomads. So today's the
And
first
that's
day of my,
fine.
the
We're
rest
all
of my
nomads.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So it's perfect. So I'm
Right.
with my people.
I
I'm with my,
I remember the first time I invited Susie to share on the microphone, and she started with that wonderful prayer. I'm here to be truly helpful, which Regis has taken and uses it. Hi, hey,
Hey, how you doing, brother?
love you, hey.
I love you too, man.
You
It's good to
two
see you.
always together.
here's your girl.
And he's wearing Nirvana.
Yeah. He's wearing, oh, my Nirvana shirt. I can wear that one. Go grab it. Go grab it.
So yeah, and I remember after her first sharing here, I said, "Where have you been?"
Yeah.
Because she adds
Yeah.
so much, she contributes so much in her sharing. Where have you been? I mean, until then, you have the same shirt, Nirvana. Wow. There's some chemistry going on here. Anyway, I just want to share. So the idea of oneness, you arrive at oneness, and I heard you mention, Lorri, the idea of looking at a pond and just becoming the pond. What we do here in this world is we look at the reflection in the pond. Oh, there's me, the reflection in the pond. But you say, no, look at the pond. Now, that's the same thing as looking at, like, if you're looking in a forest and you're next to a big oak tree and you just see the oak tree, you put your hands around, I love you so much, but you're forgetting the entire forest for the oak tree. Don't forget the forest for the tree. Don't forget the pond for the reflection, because reflection is your flypaper. Oh, look at me! Look at me, 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 me. When as a matter of fact, what's really true is that the me is the oneness, is the pond, is the entire totality, which we call the forest, and then the forest is really just a speck. I actually had a visual in my only near-death experience when I was 40 years old. I had this vision just before I left my body of a chessboard and of a chessboard in Greenwich Village in Washington Park. There's a lot of chess tables, and all of a sudden that chess table became one little small square on a much larger chessboard that went on into infinity, literally. So I'm looking at this entire chess table with a chessboard on it, and that just was one little small. So when you're looking at your reflection and whether it's a pond, you're getting lost in the flypaper. So so when you finally get through all the 10, you start with trust. You have to develop trust and letting go. And then you go through the honesty, and then you go all the way up through faithfulness and then open-mindedness. And guess what? In open-mindedness, you don't have a belief system of a little small self. You have no beliefs in the open mind. And the open mind is simply the oneness of God's love. So I do have a book, which is the second book I came out with, and I gave the title to this book called The Open Mind, Loving Yourself, which I did put here in the chat if you want to take a look at it. The Open Mind, Loving Yourself. So when you love yourself, you're loving all. literally. You might say, well, no, I love this person over there. No, that's special love. The egos love special love. Why? Because it's flypaper. You get stuck. No, love includes all equally. Oh, that's a good word, equally. That's why we went through the justice of God. Either all are included equally, either all win or none at all. And in God's kingdom, in heaven, all are included equally. And with that, I'll just turn this mic back on over to you, Lorri.
Thanks, Deb. Okay, so all are included equally. When we are thinking from our separate self, we can't feel oneness. It comes from being in the silence. It comes from letting go of our separateness and letting go of everything. So I sometimes feel like I don't even get oneness. It's a concept to me. And yet when I meditate and you're just there, you just feel it. So it's not really even something that can be described. It's like presence. It's like God. If you try to describe it, it goes away. So getting back to what you were saying, Sharon, that presence becomes the love of your life. God becomes the love of your life. Silence becomes the love of your life, the present moment. Yes, that's what I've been experiencing. And I'm so glad, and I've said this before, I'm so glad that that man broke up with me, this last relationship, because it's allowed me to get to this place. Because I wouldn't have broken up with him. I would have just kind of hung out with him and it was nice and all that. But being forced to get to this place of, you know what, I'm not looking for another person. It'd be nice if one shows up, but it's different. It's different now. And that addiction to that special relationship is gone. And I can feel that it's like, thank you. Thank you for showing me that what I've always wanted, now it's here, that I don't go running to something else in order to make myself feel good. And then the other thing you said, Sharon, about heaven is boring, and that's an ego idea. And I've heard one teacher say, get past your boredom, move past your boredom. So when you start feeling bored, that's a good thing. So look at that, watch that and say, ego must be taken over. I must be getting close because the ego wants something new in the world, in form, to entertain itself, to distract itself. But when you move past that, that's kind of what I've been in, the same thing lately. Just a sense of, there's just nothing here. It's just boring. Why am I still here? Just let me get out. But that's old. I mean, I've had that in the past, but in a more angry, rageful kind of way. But it's the same thing. It's still believing that I'm a person in the world that needs to have certain experiences to make life meaningful. And when you really get lesson one, nothing I see means anything. Nothing I see with the body's eyes, meaning form. Nothing in form means anything. So I have these darling, cute little grandchildren. And so applying it to that and saying, even those little cute little bodies means nothing. It's such a good practice, a daily practice. So getting back to what Ken was saying in the Journey Beyond Words. No, I'm sorry. The Journey Through the Workbook, Journey Beyond Words is Brent Haskell. So paragraph 1, line 6 of What is Forgiveness reads, forgiveness merely sees its falsity and therefore lets it go. The line prior to that was, what is sin except a false idea about God's Son? Forgiveness merely sees its falsity and therefore lets it go. So a false idea about God's Son, there's a concept that we are in this world, that we have bodies, that we are working together. That's actually a concept. So Ken says, this then is the core of forgiveness, looking on the ego and seeing there is nothing to forgive. We look at our false perceptions and realize they are not what we thought they were. The specialness we thought would make us happy, coming at another's expense, was not true. We will not know this, however, until we see its inherent falsity, recognizing we do not know our own best interests. So no matter who is special in your life, you're going to argue and fight with everyone. I mean, is there any person in your life that you've never had a disagreement with, or anyone that you're really close to that you wish they would see something a different way? I had this happen a week ago, and I might have mentioned this, where one of my friends, who is a course student, all of a sudden just kicked me out of her life because she doesn't like the way I think politically. And it's like, whoa, man. It's like, okay, all right, fine. But the cool thing is that I feel one with her. She's a soul sister of mine, and we are one. And so it was just a beautiful example of, okay, she's in fear. I don't need to join her in the fear. And I don't want to be in the fear around politics, and let it go. And it was great. It's like, thank you for doing that. So I could see how well this system of forgiveness works when I let go of thinking that my way is right. Because she was like, if you're going to think that way politically, she said to me in a text, I want no more communication with you at this time. And I'm like, whoa, okay, all right, fine. Because I had said, let's agree to disagree. No, she didn't. Okay. So getting away, and if I was connected, if I thought that my separate opinion was the right one, I would just be arguing back with her. And I didn't get into attack defense. I don't need to, because I know that opinions, mine and hers, are both opinions of the ego in a world that doesn't exist. And I'm so grateful for that. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Sharon.
I would say that we're entering the happy dream. That's what I see now in all of us, right? I mean, the happy dream basically is acceptance for everything. And I also feel that Dov Fishman was a huge gift to this community, because he's the Cliff Notes of the course. He will give you the course daily because he knows it by heart. And that helped a lot. So my gratitude to him and everybody on Gather, because I really spent the first 5 years in the room all the time, because I was it became a love addiction. But there was also the movement of spirit moving through me and wanting me to see that I'm not what I thought I was. My dream I got pretty beat up in. And when I came out of it and just laughed, I thought, well, now I'm just going to be okay. But that's not how it happened. Different thoughts came up, thoughts of my child, thoughts of not having money. All of it worked out. And I never moved away from the course was always my first, the 12 steps in the course were my teachings. But I did read a lot of other stuff because I was curious. But I want to read this now because, I feel like today we are all entering the happy dream. And what does that really mean? Acceptance. The world you see is but a judgment on yourself. It is not there at all. Yet judgment lays sentence on it, justifies it, and makes it real. Such is the world you see, a judgment on yourself and made by you. This sickly picture of yourself is carefully preserved by the ego, whose image it is and which it loves, and placed outside you in the world. And to this world must you adjust as long as you believe this picture is outside. Now, isn't that just, thank God. If we think that everything we see is outside, this is a camera. You're in my movie, all of you, period. And Sharon is also in my movie. And to this world must you adjust as long as you believe this picture's outside and has you at its mercy. The world is merciless. And were it outside you should indeed be fearful. Yet it was you who made it merciless. And now if mercilessness seems to look back at you, it can be corrected. I mean, it's all like just a perfect storm. It's all a perfect story, and it's all about gratitude. So I want, Dove, for you to say goodbye to everybody. And I just want to thank you and Lorri today. And it's now Dove's turn just to say, whatever he needs. He has 3 minutes.
You're muted, Dove.
Okay, I wanted to thank you for acknowledging ACM Gather as a place where everybody comes together to remember the truth of who they are. That's the purpose of developing trust in something greater than that reflection you see in the pond, and to know the entire pond as yourself, to know the entire forest is not even a dot in the mind of God, because as you rise above the battleground, you actually ascend on this vertical axis beyond time. And beyond time, we are one altogether. I just want to thank Lynn for being who she is and making ACM Gather go for the last 8 years, and all the people who have ever come together to make it a real family. So I really have nothing more to say than we're all blessed. As Lynn's birthday lesson is lesson number 40, which I think is February 9th. I am blessed as a son of God. We're all blessed. Can you imagine? We try to earn blessings. You can't earn blessings. We are blessed always. That is like the truth. And with that, I'll turn it back on over to you, Lorri. Thanks.
Thank you so much, you guys. I love every Thankful Thursday. I'm so very grateful for you all, and thank you, Susie, for coming in. Oh my goodness, I'm just so grateful to be um, back with you again. And it's so wonderful when people come back. Zoma came back, Regis came back. It's like it is and Sharon came back. It's like the beautiful party. So